Welcome to Climate Quickies, bite-sized nuggets of climate goodness from our TEDxLondon experts in under 5 minutes.
In this week's Climate Curious, we're bringing you a COP28 wrap-up. Reflections on what was achieved at the 28th United Nations Climate Change Conference in Dubai. Outside of a landmark deal to transition away from fossil fuels and a $700 million pledge to the Loss and Damage Fund, what were our experts' experiences on the ground and how did they feel about the outcome? Let's head over to our 5 climate experts to hear what really went down. Stay curious.
Hey, I'm Stephanie Epner, and I lead global initiatives for the Climate Imperative Foundation. Many are understandably frustrated at the pace of global climate action, but I do think COP28 marked a critical turning point in the diplomatic conversation when governments unanimously agreed to move beyond fossil fuels. Was the step long overdue? Yes. Are there less than helpful caveats in the negotiated text? Yes, but getting to a point where nearly 200 countries agree on the need for a fundamental transformation to the way the world is powered, it's nonetheless significant, and it should send a signal to investors and anyone who is still doubting the global commitment to the energy transition. Also encouraging to me were some of the announcements made on the margins of the negotiations. They proved that the negotiated outcome is really a floor for global ambition. It's not a ceiling. On the fossil fuels front, for example, 10 new countries, including the United States, joined the Powering Past Coal Alliance, which means they agree to stop building new coal plants and to phase out the use of existing coal plants. So certainly a lot more progress to fight for in the time ahead, but some positive outcomes for sure.
Hi, my name is Isaias Hernandez. I'm an environmental educator and the media creative behind Queer Brown Vegan. My reaction to COP28 was a bit bittersweet. I believe that depending on the industry from finance, energy, fashion, food, there was a lot of progress made in these specific niche industries. However, what I will say is that if we ask ourselves if COP28 was a success, I tend to not really think in a binary. It was a very unfortunate, horrific experience for many global south countries and activists. I do think that we've come to a point where we're peddling corporations and billionaires and these large institutions to validate the suffering of these communities, and yet we are pulling tooth and nail just for a certain rhetoric to be included in the language, but there's limited actions that are being implemented. So I do think that it was a success in certain ways, but also failures in many.
Hi, I'm Anand Gopal, Executive Director at Energy Innovation. As someone who studies climate solutions, I can tell you that waiting for carbon capture to save the climate is like waiting for Coca-Cola to make drinks good for your health. Jokes aside, I'll go further and say that I am heartened by the agreement reached in Dubai. Because a COP agreement always sets the floor, not the ceiling, for climate policy. And we learned that the tireless work of climate activists, campaigners, advocates, analysts, researchers prevailed over the OPEC oil cartel. How? The final agreement included language that the world needs to transition away from fossil fuels for the first time. And that was signed and delivered inside an OPEC country. But we can't and won't stop there. This agreement will not save us from dangerous climate change. To do that, we need to change our energy and food systems entirely. The good news is we have most of the technologies to do just that, and every country can implement policies to scale these technologies and go far beyond what was agreed to in Dubai.
Hello, my name's Tessa Khan and I'm the Executive Director of Uplift. So the good thing about the outcome of COP28 is that governments and the world finally started to name the root cause of the climate crisis, which is fossil fuels. The bad news is that governments didn't go anywhere close to as far as they should have in committing to a rapid and just transition away from the production and use of fossil fuels. And that charge really should have been led by countries like the UK, Norway, Canada, the US and Australia, which between them are responsible for more than half of new oil and gas projects planned between now and 2050. So what that means for us now is that it is up to us within our own countries to hold our national governments accountable in the courts, in Parliament, on the streets if we have to, like the huge fight that's currently happening in the UK against the Rosebank oil field, to make sure that that commitment at COP28 really means something and we start to get on top of the climate crisis.
Hi, my name is Dana Gunders. I'm the Executive Director of ReFed. I was really struck at this COP by the prominent role that food played in so many discussions. It was the first time there was an official food day. There were 160 countries that signed the first ever food declaration. And throughout that, we also saw food loss and waste playing a key role as an action strategy to both mitigating and adapting to climate change. So in that sense, I think COP was a big success. And I think this is just the beginning of food and ag being included as the key solution area that it is in the climate planning and discussion.
Thanks for listening to this quickie.
This episode was created by our superstar podcast team at TEDxLondon. Until next time,
Stay curious.